In today's episode of Today in World War II, April 12th, the very first Kiwi pilot is shot down in World War II. Germans on this date in 41 captured a couple of very key cities, one in Europe and one in Libya. Uh, the Germans announced the discovery of war crimes committed by the Soviets against the Poles. We know all about that. And on April 12th, 1945, lots of things being captured in the Netherlands and in Germany. And finally, FDR on this date passes away after suffering a cerebral hemorrhage. Let's get started. Okay, so on April 12th, 1940, this is this goes along with my goal to eventually do a Trivial Pursuit version of World War II. In this case, the question would be who was the first Kiwi pilot to get shot down in World War II? And I would say, well, that's easy. That's Corporal Jack Landridge of the Royal New Zealand Air Force. He was a bomber pilot, number 149 Squadron, and it was the first. He was the first of 1,670 New Zealanders to be killed was serving in RAF Bomber Command in this mission. He was flying to bomb German targets in Norway over Stavanger. His airplane took off from Mildenhall in Suffolk, England, and it was attacked by a Bf-110 fighter and shot down off the coast. Daylight. It was a daylight raid, obviously, so a little bit dicier for the British bombers doing daylight raids. But of course, you're trying to keep the Germans from conquering the country, and you have to do lower level daylight raids to know who you're bombing. So that's, of course, it's logical why they did that. On April 12th, 1941, the Germans and on different fronts attacked and captured key cities. Uh, if you remember a couple days ago in this series, I told you that Hitler had ordered the invasion of Yugoslavia, and it was he had his allies, his little yapping dogs there helping. You had Hungary, you had Romanians, Bulgarians, and you had the German troops as well. They all swarmed Yugoslavia after there was a military coup kicking out the pro-Axis government, and now they're paying the price. On this day, German troops reached Belgrade and captured it, and it would be held by the Germans until the Red Army liberated it back in later in 45. And in North Africa, German troops captured Bardia in Libya. So you're having Hitler in the Balkans shore up his southwestern flank in preparation for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, and you have Rommel in Libya, who's continuing his first major offensive against the Allied armies, British Commonwealth armies in North Africa. And we're in 41. Things are still looking pretty gloomy for the Allies. But I have a feeling that they're going to turn it around eventually, right? And on April 12th, 1943, the Germans announced that they discovered over 4,000 dead bodies of 4,000 bodies of Polish officers that had supposedly recently deported by the Soviets in 1940 in a mass grave near Smolensk. And we know what that's all about because we talked about that a few days ago, that they murdered over 20,000 Polish officers, landowners, police, and when they invaded, stabbed Poland in the back during the German invasion in 39. And now this is the Soviets are going to, I don't know if they ever officially acknowledged, even during Glasnost and under Yeltsin, when it became Russia, that they actually murdered those Poles. I know that people in my family over there in Russia, they swear that it was always the Germans do that, but we know that it was the NKVD, it was that version of the KGB under orders from Stalin and the Politburo. On April 12th, 1945, now it's just, every day we have more and more German cities being taken by the Allies in the West. In the Netherlands, the Canadians, I believe, the British and the Canadians, they took Westerbork, Bremen, and Deventer. The U.S. Third Army captured Erfurt, Germany, and the Ninth Army. capture Braunschweig after they actually crossed the Elbe River. Now we know that the Elbe River is going to be the dividing point between the Soviets and the Western Allies, but the Ninth Army went ahead and crossed the River and took Braunschweig, which you're going to have to give back. So, you know, I don't know about that. If you already have treaty, you know that you can't go beyond a certain point. What's the point of liberating those towns if they're just going to be given back to the Soviets? I don't know. I just work here, right? And finally, on April 12th, 1945, FDR passed away of a cerebral hemorrhage after complaining of an acute headache. He was getting his portrait painted at his resort in Warm Springs, Georgia. FDR was, I mean, look, I know that he is a symbol of socialism and um, I don't know, creeping globalism, if you want to call it that, because a lot of my fellow Americans who have been, I believe, radicalized think that it was all horrible and it was the worst thing in the world. But I'm not radicalized. I can read, I know history and I can analyze history. And the country needed FDR back then because, listen, the Great Depression started under Herbert Hoover, a Republican, and he did nothing. He did very little to nothing and people needed something. And so the only working branch that could pay for things at the time, the banks weren't going to do it. Industry wasn't going to do it. It had to be the government. So the government had to inject cash and had to inject investment to help people survive and get jobs, give them something to do. That's why all these great public works that happened during the Depression were because of the great, of the FDR's policies. The Hoover Dam was built with these types of investments. The Golden Gate Bridge, there's just countless things that were done in the 30s that put people to work. And yes, long term, the rearmament of the United States in preparation for World War II, that brought us completely out of it. But there would need to be a bridge between complete hopelessness to full employment, thanks to World War II. So good for FDR. We needed someone like him in the White House at that time. So thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate it. You got another one coming tomorrow.